Hello everyone, Carlos here. Welcome to the Tech Brief for the week of August 19. I'm going to start going over the news, and the first item that I want to cover is that China's Velvet Group has been exploiting Cisco NX devices with CVE 2024-2399. And one of the main reasons that they're performing this task is that when we look at networking devices in an enterprise environment, those are devices that most of the security teams are actually not monitoring. We have done several engagements, both from our purple team, incident response team, even our red team. And one of the things that we have noticed during all of those engagements is that most customers, if not all, actually are not ingesting into their SIMs the logs of the devices themselves to see if somebody has been tampering with the configuration, doing brute force attacks, installing software, modifying the software or the firmware of the devices themselves. And this is one of the main reasons that we have been seeing a lot of actors actually focus on this. We have, and it is not because actors are not abusing it. We've seen this right now with firewall devices. We've seen it with IP phones. We've seen it with IP cameras, but still, it is one of those risk vectors that I don't know why when we talk with customers, they just simply go, oh no, nobody's hacking from there, or they're not that important, or they're not being abused that much. I haven't seen it so much in the news. Well, let me tell you that yes, they are being exploited and they're being abused by many actors. So my recommendation to you is to perform a purple team engagement. Megan from our purple team can help you there. In fact, Jason Lang from our red team can help you perform a red team where those devices are included in the scope. Many times, one of the things that happens is that because of the fear of all of the traffic that goes through those devices, they get excluded. And we have been in red team engagements where we have had people like Hans from our red team go into a 3D printer and set up shop inside of that 3D printer to then perform actions. We have had Chris from our research team, our team lead for the research team right now. One of the things that he has done in the past during a pen test has been to go after IP cameras and go over there because there's no EDR, there are no controls. That is one of the areas that we have performed TTP's actions, you might say, in customer environments where we have been successful just by moving our operations into those embedded devices. And that is why I'm recommending to you that you take this into account as part of your security assessments. The next piece of news that I want to talk about is that researchers have found a backdoor on the access cards that many companies out there are using. This is from Shanghai Fudan Micron Electronics. This is the leading Chinese manufacturer where it comes to MyFair compatible kind of chips, specifically on their FM11R F085S cards. One of the things that happened is that researchers started looking at these devices and they found that there was a specific key that was hard-coded into the chip itself. Now, researchers say that the FM11R F085 backdoor enables any entity with knowledge of its compromise all user-defined keys on disk cards, even when fully diversified, simply by accessing the card only for a few minutes, they're able to abuse this. And this is a very big one. Many times when we go into customer environments, they're still struggling to have a proper inventory of all of the applications, all of the services, and mapping those into business processes. Can you imagine right now that if I go over to the IT team or any team that is managing physical security and I tell them, from where did we bought these cards? Do we have that inventory information for the last 10 years or the last 7 years or the last 5 years? And I'll bet to you that most of them are going to tell you, no, we don't. So this is a big one. It is one of those blind spots that we have when it comes to our inventory. And that is why it's so important that we have processes in place. This is one of those areas where our advisory team can actually help you with. Now, moving to the vulnerabilities for this week that have come out. The first one is that we have CVE 2024-28000. And this one has a CVSS score of 9.8 and it is for the Litespeed Cache plugin for WordPress. This one's actively being exploited out there. There's a lot of mass scanning that is going on, and actors have been abusing specifically this vulnerability to just be able to authenticate as a user and then spoof the user ID of an administrator and getting higher privileges. So this one actually affects all of the versions prior to 6.30.1. And as I mentioned, it's actively being exploited. There's some mass scanning going out there. And you may go like, hey, Carlos, we don't need to worry about this because we don't use WordPress. I'm going to be telling you that a lot of marketing teams, sales team, and other teams may set up WordPress sites for a campaign or just to perform a specific action in the environment. Next vulnerability that we have is CVE 2024-7971. This one has a CVSS score of 8.7. It affects specifically Chrome, all of the versions prior to 128. It is being actively exploited. This is a type confusion in V8, a JavaScript engine. This was actually reported by Microsoft Threat Intelligence Center over to Google, and it is actively being exploited by actors out there. So make sure that you're patching and updating all of your Chrome instances. There's no public proof of concept code so far for this vulnerability, but it's still being used by specific actors that do have access to that exploit. The next one is that SolarWinds, again, has a vulnerability with a CVSS score of 9.1, and this one is being tracked with CVE 2024-28987. And this one is big. CISA is warning that rapid exploitation, given how the previous vulnerability is being exploited for SolarWinds Web Help Desk, and this one is that it has a credential. You can call it a backdoor, you can call it a mistake in development for debugging that somebody left username and password on the device itself that can be used to log in remotely. I call it a backdoor personally, and this one actually affects all of the versions prior to 12.83 with hotfix 2. So make sure that you patch this one, because more than likely this one is going to be exploited out in the wild pretty soon, given that actors can just start rummaging through the code and find those embedded credentials in the system itself quite easily when it comes to this type of vulnerability. So that is all for this tech brief. And again, I hope that you like the information. I'll see you guys in the next video.